I know people making $50,000 a month from AI. None of them built a traditional tech startup. They found gaps nobody else is filling yet, and I'm going to share 3 with you today. Now, you have to understand companies are adopting AI tools at record speed, but they don't know how to use them, and that gap is the opportunity. I call it the deployment gap. When technology improves faster than humans know how to use it, the people who bridge this gap get paid. Now, I sold my AI company for millions of dollars at age 30, and now I teach millions of people AI for free. But first, hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a training. So let's dive in. Here are 3 ideas to turn that deployment gap into a one-person revenue generating business. So number 1 is Microsoft Copilot training. I am sure that many of you thought I was going to say Claude. And it's true, Claude is super hot right now. I'm actually going to talk about it in number 2. But number 1 is very underserved. And let me explain why. In a recent study, Microsoft shared that they have over 20 million paid Copilot seats. Nearly 70% of Fortune 500 companies are stuck using Copilot, whether they want to or not. However, the amount of people who are actually productive with Copilot, according to a recent study, was around 7 million out of 20. So this gap is the opportunity. So we have 20 million plus people paying for Microsoft Copilot, but only 7 million people supposedly using it. And they're honestly probably using just 10% of the functionality, and they don't know about the rest of the functionality. So now I'm going to show you some examples of real companies like charging money for Copilot training. So here's one, just randomly found. I have no affiliation with this company whatsoever, but their standard rate for Copilot training is $15,000 for a workshop in a day. Supposedly 430 million commercial Copilot seats sold worldwide. 67% of security teams have AI data concerns. Only 36% actually using Copilot regularly. There's lots of companies like this, but not as many as you'd think, given the many millions of people stuck using Copilot at their company. So this is very exactly how they structure their pricing. It's $15,000 for a workshop for a day. Here's another one. This is actually listed on the official Microsoft marketplace. They offer Microsoft 365 Copilot workshop. So this is an 8-hour workshop that starts at $5,000 for Copilot training. But anyway, I'm just giving real examples of what people are charging for this kind of thing. I personally don't see much content or education about this online. I get people DMing me all the time like, oh, can this be used in Copilot? Or how do I use Copilot to do this? Or like, I'm stuck using Copilot. How do I do all these things you just showed for Claude, but can I do like 5% of it in Copilot? Like, please show me. So I think there's a huge opportunity here just for Microsoft Copilot training. I mean, the number of companies that are stuck using Copilot and have a lot of money is just a shockingly high number, right? So I feel it's personally a very underserved market, and it's just continuing to be underserved because everybody wants to learn Claude. But just because everybody wants to learn Claude, like that doesn't mean they have access to Claude in a company environment, guys. So like, people can be learning Claude on the side on their Macs, but in a company, many companies are stuck using Copilot, and like they're not going to be adopting some of the shinier options. So action plan for you, if you are interested in exploring this opportunity, especially if you actually have Copilot experience. So on my YouTube channel, I just dropped a 2-hour course with the amazing Sharee Brockington. She has trained over 60,000 people how to use Copilot. This is like the most awesome beginner introduction to it. She really goes through how to use the Copilot homepage, how to use it in Excel, how to use it in Word, how to use it in PowerPoint, etc. So I recommend just binge watching this. So idea number 2 is a paid AI community. Now, this business model is proven, right? This is not like a new startup we're building. We're taking existing model of a community, typically offers like courses, weekly meetings / Q&A, and then really awesome people. And best part of a community is you get paid recurring per month. So you don't have to fight for every dollar every single month. So we're taking all of this and then we're adding AI to it. Now, you can have a community that specifically teaches AI or is centered around the topic of AI, or or you can have a community about a non-AI topic and just use AI to help you with the community, like help you create content, help you moderate the community, etc., help you drive more people into the community, test different copyright changes, lead magnets, etc., to get people into the community. But those are two distinct models, right? You can actually like teach AI with an AI focused community, or you can teach a non-AI focused community and just use AI to help you market the community, run the community, etc. So why are communities popping up, and what are the different topics that we could actually talk about? So let's just take Anthropic Claude as an example. The company Anthropic grew their annualized revenue by 80x just in Q1 2026. What we're going to see naturally, because so many people are switching to a new tool, you're going to see supply versus demand at work. So because we have 80x the user base of demand over here. So all of these people are going to be like, wait, how do I use Claude? How do I use it within a team? How do I use it within like an enterprise? How do I use it for this use case over here, this use case? I went on YouTube and I searched stuff, but I couldn't find anything for like how to use Claude for real estate, how to use Claude for CFOs, how to use Claude for middle managers, how to use Claude for HR, how to use Claude for compliance. How do I use Claude for my team of 300 people? There is already massive demand for this type of Claude content. There's not enough people to actually fill it. Like the supply is missing. The niches I just mentioned, they don't get much attention at all. So let's talk about that. Like what are the types of communities that you could build? So I just think about it in terms of segments. So one potential segment is demographic. So an easy example of this is I do have a free Skool community. It's for women in AI. So like literally women. So another segment could be technical ability. So is your community going to be focused on beginners in tech? Is it going to be focused on people who don't know how to take a screenshot on a computer? Is it focused on developers? Like this is a spectrum from like non-tech over here to technical over here. Where do you want to sit on this spectrum? Skill. I don't mean the same thing as technical ability. I mean, you could have a community oriented around learning a specific skill. So a skill could be content creation. It could be generating videos. With Claude, could be a specific tool. Like again, I'm seeing communities pop up just focused on teaching you Claude. It could be a specific industry. Other segments, you could have a Skool community focused on specific income goals. You could have a community focused on building startups and products. So different types of vibe coding communities. Vibe coding mobile apps, vibe coding web apps, vibe coding consumer, vibe coding for B2B, vibe coding internal tools. Like they're all different segments. You don't have to choose like all of them simultaneously. You could just have a paid community teaching Claude. You could just have a paid community focused on teaching AI for one demographic. There are many types of communities to build. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there are 50 Claude focused communities by the end of the year just on Skool, because it's so hot right now. There's still a big gap around vibe coding communities, in my opinion. There's a few, but like there could be so much more because so many people are now vibe coding and confused about what to do. There's really not many based on demographic. There's not many based on specific income goals. And there's definitely like almost none based on specific industries, right? Like very specifically, how do we use AI for real estate to make more money, close more leads, do marketing for real estate, etc. And then I will just wrap up with one thing you can do right now to ask ChatGPT or Claude. So go to your favorite AI tool, and here's the prompt. What AI education niche fits my skill? And then we're going to append my favorite question at the end. Ask me clarifying questions just in case AI doesn't know anything about you. So go, if you're seriously interested in number 2, like literally type this into chat or Claude right now and start the process of just like brainstorming different things you could do. So 2, I think, is a lot more flexible. There's a lot more optionality because you can choose your set of segments to make it unique, right? Whereas this one is a little more confined, a little more defined. Number 3 is a vibe coding agency. Honestly, it's pretty much the same as a software development agency of the past, but you're heavily using vibe coding tools and you're transparent about it. Like clients know that you're using vibe coding tools to deliver faster and deliver higher quality. Let's talk about the old way of doing things versus the new way. So with AI vibe coding tools, yes, they're far from perfect, perfect. Yes, there's security issues. Yes, you should know what you're doing if you're scaling to hundreds and thousands of users. However, they're still really, really useful in the early stage when you have a brand new code base and you're testing lots of different hypotheses. So in the old way of doing things, building an MVP could take you 3 to 6 months, realistically, anywhere from like $5,000 to $60,000. And the sad part is you just get like tired by the end, or your priorities change. So let's say you have a brilliant idea, you pour 10K in, you find some freelancers to build it out. It takes them 4 months. By the end of 4 months, it barely works. You launch it to 10 people. They don't like it. You realize, oh shoot, we have to go back and like add these things or fix these things. You're tired, you've lost energy, and you kind of just want to move on to the next shiny object. This was the old way of doing things. And that is what I've described. I've seen more times than I can count. And then you're like sad because you just blew $10,000 in 4 months. So the new way of doing things is basically to compress this cycle from 3 to 6 months to, let's say, 1 to 3 weeks, depending on the complexity of your MVP and also your technical ability. The more technical you are, the faster that you can build these MVPs. Instead of 5 to 60K, the cost to you as a person building it is like, let's say, $1,000 for all the tools and credits. And instead of being tired because you spent 4 months building the first version, you still have energy left to go bring this thing to market, keep testing it, keep trying to acquire users, get their feedback, implement their feedback, and like keep going. This is the new way of doing things with vibe coding. You can ship in a few weeks what used to take months. Okay, now you might wonder, well, how could you make an agency out of this if clients can just do this themselves, right? Like you could say, oh, but can't clients just vibe code their own app? Why would someone pay an agency to do it? You have to think about what clients actually pay for. It's generally not just the product. People like me, I'm a business owner. I can make a decision on a $100,000 purchase in like 10 minutes. Okay, if it's a $5,000 purchase, I can make that decision in 15 seconds. What am I paying for? What do I care about? I care about speed, I care about clarity, and I also care about reliability in the sense that you're gonna get it done without breaking stuff or risking my reputation or risking my brand in some way. So what do I mean by this? Like speed, clarity, reliability, these are like fancy guru terms. I just mean like if, let's say you're an existing business, not a big business, just like small business, but you have funding to try to build an MVP. Now, you could try to build it yourself. So that's one option, but you really don't know anything about how to build the product so that it works for other people to use it and pay you, right? There's still like a bunch of steps there that aren't explained very well for vibe coders. You could hire a freelancer to do it. Okay, so you might search on Upwork or Fiverr for someone to do it, or you could hire an agency to do it. And what's the difference between an agency and a freelancer? An agency typically just has a bit more structure around their offer and usually a team of people. So in a vibe coding agency, you might have somebody just focused on, let's say, UI, UX, and prototyping. Okay, and then you might have somebody actually building the things, building the back end, making sure it's secure. And maybe you also have a person that could help with marketing the app initially, for example, launching it on certain startup directories, etc. These are generally the three choices. Like you build it yourself or someone on your team builds it, you hire a freelancer to work with you, or you hire an agency that's supposed to have like a track record and be more reliable. But for sure, there's always a market for all three. If I was non-technical, I didn't know anything about vibe coding, but I had money and I could make purchase decisions and I have an idea that I want to test, but I don't want to be the one building it. Your pitch to me is we can deliver it for you very quickly. You'll get clarity on whether this idea is a yes or a no as fast as possible so you don't waste your time. It's like the worst thing is if I wasted 3 months of my time on something that wasn't going to work. And you get reliability and safety. We're going to make sure your vibe coded app doesn't accidentally leak all of your customer data so that you're not liable or at risk, because you know that most freelancers definitely won't be doing that. And the thing is that you can do this, you can pitch this, like I'm going to give you speed, I'm going to give you clarity, and I'm going to give you reliability / safety. And you can take on more clients because of the efficiency of vibe coding without significantly reducing your prices. And why? Like it's because like these things I'm paying for are premium. Like if I want these things, I know I'm going to pay a premium. If this was maybe less important to me, maybe I'd go with number 2. If I just didn't have any budget, like I'd probably just try to do it myself. Okay. But there's a market for all three of these options. There's a market for all three of these pitches. Yeah. So we talked about 3 ideas to build an AI business from 0 to 1 million. Obviously, it still takes hard work to do this. There's no such thing as an instant easy path. But I believe all 3 of these ideas are highly underserved today. Not many people are really paying attention to these ideas relative to how big the opportunity is. So certainly there are paid AI communities, but in my opinion, there's not that many relative to the demand to learn this topic. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next training.